I will search on Amazon for the perfect, cheapest, most practical book bag coffee maker. It's not sustainable, and that's what they call racing to the bottom. Now, let's think about it this way. You could easily try to maximize your dating life. Swipe, 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 swipe. You're too tall. You're too short. You have too many teeth. I don't like you. 5 minutes later,
Too
you're
many
on,
teeth?
swipe, swipe, swipe.
Is there such a
happens.
thing?
It happens. It happens. Hey, welcome to the Actor's Guide to the End of the World podcast, where we talk about acting in Hollywood in a way people understand. I'm your host, Econ Song, and this is...
Rían Sheehy Kelly, what's happening?
What's up, buddy?
Oh, you know.
We have a lot to get into today. We have new episodes every Monday, wherever you find your podcasts, at Actors Guide Podcast. Follow us on all social media at Actors Guide Podcast. Fun clips, highlights from the episode. Make sure you follow just so you don't miss anything.
Loads of stuff today to talk about. Today we get into contracts, UK contracts. Everything you need to know and some things you didn't need to know.
Let's talk about what everyone's dying to know is what an actor makes in the UK. If you haven't heard,
in the UK.
Marvel made an announcement. They are leaving Georgia for the UK. It actually probably has been happening over the past 5 years, but it's in big, bold print. We're going to talk about it. We're going to talk about this ongoing conversation about Runaway Productions. Rían has inside dirt on what it's like to work in the UK and Europe. Sorry, I made that sound dirty.
Zero dirt. Zero dirt.
Inside look. An
first-hand experience.
Yeah, first-hand experience is a good way to do it. Yeah, first-hand experience.
Yeah, like an embedded reporter on the ground.
Double agent.
Double
Agent Rían.
agent. Exactly.
Yeah, I like that. And we talk about why productions might be moving to the UK and EU. All right. Enjoy the show. Sit back and relax. And on with the show.
And now a word from our sponsor for today's episode. Does your pet get the yips in auditions? Does your little friend literally shit the bed at callbacks?
Welcome to the Royal Academy for Dramatic Barks, where your puppies will be trained by acting legends Ellen Barkin,
Mark Ruffalo,
and Sir Patrick Stewart. Sign up today.
Let's just get into it. So there was an announcement that Marvel is leaving Georgia for the UK. Now, we've been chattering about Runaway Productions a bit over the past few months for sure. We've been talking about Stay in LA, but this was an announcement that kind of sent a message for sure. In all honesty, I mean, my Atlanta friends, we saw this coming.
I actually thought that had happened already. I didn't realize this was new. I thought they had already, because I know there's been a ton of Marvel productions in London. I actually thought they had pulled out already. I didn't realize this was a more recent
development
move.
100%. I agree. A Marvel film that was shot in the UK, Captain America: First Avenger. I'm just going to rattle through these because I don't know if you guys are Marvel nuts like some people are, but Captain Avenger 2011, Thor: Dark World, Guardians of the Galaxy 2014, Avengers 2015, Avengers: Age of Ultron, Captain America:
the
Civil
first
War.
Guardians of the Galaxy
Exactly.
was shot in London.
Utilized UK locations such as
Yeah, that's
Millennium Footbridge in London and Lloyd's Building for scenes set on the planet Xandar. Now, obviously, I don't know if you were, I don't know if anyone specifically remembers this, but yeah, they shot the original Guardians of the Galaxy, some of it in the UK.
Yeah,
So
because
that's going back to 2014.
Emmett's in it. Emmett, my pal.
There you
is in
go. Okay. Yeah. We'll definitely have to bring that up when we get him on.
Absolutely.
So, Captain America: Civil War, Doctor Strange, which makes sense. Black Widow, were some portions were shot at Pinewood. Spider-Man: Far From Home 2019, Avengers: Infinity War, Avengers: Endgame, Eternals, The Marvels, Captain America: Brave New World, and Thunderbolts, filmed in London. Is UK in the UK, and you let me know because you would know better. In the UK, this stuff, a lot of it is subsidized because of healthcare costs. Right?
Yeah, somebody made this point.
Yeah, our buddy Andrew made this point, and I think it's a great point because of healthcare costs. So it's naturally much cheaper to work with crews in the UK.
Yeah, he was making the point that healthcare is, essentially covered in the UK for crews and everything else, and that's why it's subsidized. So they're not paying into a health fund in the same way.
Right.
The
Right.
unions.
Well, that's a big deal. That's a
It
big
is.
deal.
Yeah, it's true to a point. But also the rates are lower. I mean, they're certainly
Yeah.
lower for actors. I assume that they're lower for crews as well.
Oh, we're gonna get into that for sure. I don't want to call it good news. We have some lighter news that we will talk about we'll talk about at the end. But we're just gonna get into the facts. We're gonna get into the nitty gritty here. If you go in crew stories, you're gonna see a lot of chatter both sides. It's hard to have a really balanced talk about this because it is so complicated. You're right. It is one piece of the puzzle. That is one piece of the puzzle that is making it easier to shoot over there. And then we will get into the lower rates. I think the other thing I want to get into is this idea of these things are cyclical. These things are cyclical. We didn't feel a need to kind of talk about it, or I didn't feel a need to talk about it until now, where we have this, kind of announcement by Marvel where, hey, we've been talking about Atlanta's taking over. Atlanta's hot. Atlanta's hot. LA, it's been, let's be honest, it's been struggling a little bit. It has a couple bruises. As much as we love LA and I want to be part of LA and part of the push back up, but let's just be honest here. It's been a couple rough years. See here, Georgia's film and TV spending has plunged to nearly 50% in 3 years. Okay. So
Say it again?
50% in 3 years. Film and TV spending has plunged nearly 50% in 3 years. The last 3 years, it plunged 50%. Okay.
Okay.
There's a handful of articles. We're going to put the link in this description here. The title of this one is Marvel Leaves Georgia to Film Superhero Movies in UK. Gutting state's movie industry. And then a quote from one of the crew members that they interviewed. You feel like a jilted lover. Now, here's the thing. I want Atlanta. I actually get a lot of opportunities in Atlanta, and I want Atlanta to be bustling, and I'm obviously pro LA. Everyone in LA is kind of like, how does it feel? You know what I mean? It's like, yeah, we kind of felt that. We kind of felt how that feels. It's not great. But these things are cyclical. I've been talking to my Atlanta people for years now, and they're like, yeah, to be honest, everyone's talking about us taking over, but it's actually kind of slow. They saw Marvel projects leaving to UK over the past few years already. The reality was different than all the headlines. Do you know what I mean?
Okay. Yeah.
Just want to get into these numbers because I wanted to do it for the last year. But this is just a small snapshot. To be honest, I was tired of just all the talk about this, about LA versus New York versus Atlanta. So I looked into the numbers of what was actively shooting.
Yeah.
And this is a snapshot. Okay, so this is just one small snapshot this past July. And to be fair, I was pretty surprised.
Yeah.
We have New York, and this is including North Jersey. Netflix, hey, credit to them. They did build their studio in North Jersey, and they're pumping them out. They're shooting this year. This is in July. 22 productions in the New York area. 8 of them are in New Jersey, and probably mostly Netflix related. Okay, so that's pretty good, considering that it's slower. Summertime, it's a little slower. And meanwhile, a lot of us have been twiddling our thumbs, and we've been kind of waiting for this push and finally trying to recover from these strikes. Now, on a nice positive note for LA, Los Angeles 31, New York.
Okay.
I do have to clarify this. I'm not talking about documentary, and I'm not talking about reality TV. So that's not in this count. Okay.
I see.
New York and New Jersey, 20. What did I say? 22. 22 in New York and New Jersey. Los Angeles, 31. 31 this past July.
That's interesting. Because, for New York is typically, a decent bit less than LA, right? The numbers.
Yeah, exactly. So
that's kind of close. I suppose it includes New Jersey as well. And Netflix have built a studio there, right?
Yeah. So they launched a studio. They're producing it. They're producing a lot in North Jersey right now. I'm trying to get ears everywhere. Like, a long scoping conversation between you and me who are, fairly diligent, hungry actors, right?
Gorgeous. Yeah.
Yeah, somehow I left that off, but you're right.
It just helps to say it. You know what I mean? Everybody knows it, but sometimes you just have to say it.
Yeah,
out
exactly.
loud.
Well, this is an audio podcast. Just in case you're listening and you're not watching, that you should know that. They
That's
should
what
know
I'm banking on. That's I'm trading on
that.
that.
Anyway, LA was stronger than I expected. That's 31 productions. That's Bad Monkey season 2. That's Grey's Anatomy. 9/11 is back. Euphoria is. These are just some of the names. Okay, and
I
this
think
is
it's
not reality.
911. I don't think it's 9/11.
Oh my god, it's so funny because I wrote on my Instagram I wrote 9/11. Duly
Yep.
noted. I was surprised no one mentioned that on my Instagram. Anyway, so here's the kicker. For Hollywood of the South, drum roll please, Atlanta has 9 shooting
Okay.
in July. Now, obviously, this is different because it just happens to be 1 month in this year. It's just one small snapshot, so don't make grand generalizations here. But this is part
would
of the
never.
thing where these are just facts. These are just facts. Deal with it. We're trying to process it just as well as you guys. That's Tulsa
Deal
King.
with it, guys.
That's Tulsa King, Reasonable Doubt, and they are shooting a lot of reality series though, and a couple documentaries, but that's not part of this count. The way I look at it is, it's kind of like investing in a stock.
Yeah.
It's nice to invest in a stock when the price is low. It's kind of early in the game. You feel good about their potential, and you ride them up. There's obviously risk in that because they're unproven. They're not developed. They're not the 100% lock. But it's nice if you catch something on the way up, as opposed to everyone said this is a lock. You're gonna make tons of money. This is 100% lock, and guess what happened? You're too late. The stock is all the way up, and then it's eventually going to come down. Now, the stock market, a lot of people say, is kind of cyclical, and that's kind of like my point. These things, we're going to get into this one article, but these things are kind of cyclical. LA was hot, had some, a little downturn. We're all confident that this is not the end of Hollywood, not the end of LA. Atlanta was super hot, coming down. By the way, it wasn't maybe 5-6 months ago, and these are just actors that I know. A lot of actors were saying, hey, LA's kind of slow. Should I move to Atlanta? No, I'm not saying if you want to move to Atlanta, like, there's a million reasons why you can move to Atlanta. It's, a little cheaper. If you have friends, family there, maybe you have a community that you want to plug into. My point is you just packed up all your nuts and you just packed up all your luggage and you just got ready to move. Guess what? It might have been too late. It might be too late to move to Atlanta right now if you're just trying to chase Hollywood jobs. Anyway, that's kind of my point. I hope that makes sense.
No, I no, it is, because I think, to your point, if productions are moving out of Atlanta now, well, then it would seem that for now, Atlanta's, if it's losing production, it's not moving there now wouldn't be the smart move.
Exactly.
It depends. You know what? I think it depends on a lot of things. I think it depends on where you're at in your career, what you're looking for, how close you want to get, how much experience you want to get. Like, because I know from living in Chicago, it's much easier to get close to smaller roles on shows in a city like Chicago, where they'll do local hire for a number of shows. Than it is in LA.
Great for building opportunities.
Yeah,
or, getting experience.
Absolutely. Like, I was reading one of Bill Bryson's books, and he was talking about the theory of, people who go to Harvard, like the most prestigious name of a university there is, versus people who go to like regional colleges and that nobody, that nobody pays any attention to in terms of prestige. The people that went to the lesser known universities often ended up working in that profession, whereas people in Harvard tended to get discouraged and dropped out because the competition is so fierce that you're more likely to get discouraged. You're in a much more competitive environment, and it dissuades people kind of from staying in it long term. Whereas people who are bigger fish in a small pond, you know, to kind of simplify it a bit. LA probably does that to actors. LA probably spits out a lot of actors because it's so competitive here, you know, and having been in it now for the past 7 years or so, I understand that better, that it is a really, really tough market just because there's more competition. There's more people doing it here. More people come here for that reason. So you're in a very competitive market. So it depends on what you want. If you want to get credits and you want to get experience and you want to get close to things, maybe Atlanta is a better option anyway. Yes, you're at the mercy of whatever productions come through town. And that was the same for me in Chicago. Like, there are a limited number of productions. So to make a living from it can be a bit harder. You know, you're kind of subsidizing it. But then you come to LA and it's not all that easy to do it here either because of, you know, for different reasons. There's just a lot more competition. There's more production, but there's more people doing it. So you're in a bigger pool of people. And to try and rise above that here can feel frustrating at times.
That's spot on.
Just in terms of sheer volume of numbers. Even if you are good, there's a lot of other people here who are good. And there's a lot of other people there'll always be someone better looking than you. There'll always be someone with more social media followers. But, you know, whatever they're looking for at that time, there's a lot of luck involved in success, particularly here, I think.
That's spot on, and I'm glad you said that because you're completely right. If I'm gonna say, hey, maybe you think twice about moving to Atlanta, it completely depends on what you're looking for in your career.
Yeah.
If you're 20 something looking for credits, you're flexible, move around, get out there, freaking jump around. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
If you're, you know, and on the other side of the spectrum, if you already built a community in, say, LA or Canada or wherever, you spent time and money in that community, and it's going to be and then, you know, let alone you have a family, kids, and a house. Obviously that's a completely different ballgame, but that's the furthest extreme where, hey,
yeah,
it's a big price to be jumping around chasing after where Hollywood is moving.
Yes.
So let's talk about this UK stuff. We're not going to get too much into the weeds here, but let's talk about lower rates. Okay. We're just going to start out with the acting union in the UK is called Equity.
Yeah.
And in general, the way that it's described here is UK producers working in the UK, the way that they would describe it is union guidelines are stricter in the US, not as strict over there.
Yeah. Where are you, by the way? Are you in the Capital One Cafe?
Oh, you bet. You recognize it? Yeah. First time in a while. You recognize the lighting in the wall.
Yep.
Yep. Back at good old Capital One Cafe. Anyway, employers are not permitted to make union membership a condition of employment or refuse to hire because of their union status. I want to say it's similar to right to work.
Right to work, yeah.
Yeah. So let's just look at these union rights here.
Yeah.
Okay.
Let's look at them.
Now, the actors, let's just start with the actors here. The actors union is Equity. Okay.
Yeah.
Now, recently, they just landed an agreement with Netflix. Okay. So Equity Actors Union has agreement with Netflix. A minimum weekly pay rate of £715. Okay. For actors.
A weekly, say it again, a weekly
pay rate of £715, covering 3 months of streaming on the platform, which I believe is the standard. They work in 3 months chunk. Okay. This minimum fee was established in 2019 agreement between the union and Netflix. So this is 2019. This is similar to the stuff that we went striking over in the past 2 years. 2 years ago. Minimum weekly pay rate. So I'm just taking, if the smallest role, what are the minimums? I don't know all the trends of UK, and you can chime in, but we're looking at £715. By the way, I want to say quid. Is quid actually the same as pounds?
Yes.
Okay, I
Please
just wanted to
say
double
quid.
check. Okay,
Please
I know,
keep saying
I
quid.
was
I
so
like that.
I
I
was
like
so
that.
tempted to say quid, but I got shy.
700 quid. I got
Okay.
shy.
Yeah. Anyway,
Yeah.
so just so you know, with the exchange rate currently right now, that is around $960. Okay,
Yes.
it's around $960 and change.
Right.
Dollar exchange. Okay.
Yeah.
Now we are looking at the SAG weekly rate
Yes.
of a TV show, Performer One episode. I'm looking at $3,575 for a week.
Yeah.
Okay. Now, these are just the numbers.
Now, that's not the full picture though, because there is so from my limited experience, of those contracts, there's a weekly engagement fee, which is your sort of that's what you get for working. So that's per week.
Okay.
Yeah, and then there's a day rate, which is low. The weekly engagement fee is the bulk of that money.
Okay, so this is good. So this is making a little more sense now. You have the weekly engagement fee, then you have the weekly episodic fee on top of that. The weekly engagement fee is kind of your booking fee, entitling the production to engage with you for the shoot. We see here the BBC agreement at £704. The episodic fee, they have a minimum of £617 for the first workday. Each additional workday that week, it will be £68. So let's say that you work 3 days out of the week. 617 for the first day. Each additional day would be £68. So that's roughly 700, let's say £760 for that episodic fee. £760. And then your weekly engagement fee minimum would be £704, which both of those together would be £1,464. £1,464 before residuals, before all of that. That is around $1,973. Okay, so this is making a little more sense. And that's compared to a SAG-Aftra scale weekly rate right now in the U.S. is $3,756. You have experience in this.
I do. And I have a little bit of experience of it. And then the two productions I worked on this past, in the past year or whatever, were both different contracts. One was a UK equity contract, and then the other was an Irish contract. So it was a different... And again, they're structured very differently. In some of them, there's a day rate and there's no residuals. And some, residuals are bought out for a fee. But here it's based on, you don't know what your residuals are until they come, because it's based on airings and whatever. If it's a TV show,
are you talking about in the US?
In the US, yeah. Like you never know up front what you're, like how much you're going to get residuals.
Yeah, but that's a little. I'm glad you brought that up, because this is one of the many things that I complain and bitch about. So in the good old days, residuals and payments for reruns in the good old days,
the 1920s,
it was much simpler. Exactly, it was much simpler when you get paid when your Grey's Anatomy episode runs on TV. It was much simpler when you get paid for the few times that your national commercial gets airs on during the basketball game. It is very different now.
Yeah, because of streaming.
No, you're good. Exactly. So we have completely different streaming guidelines, and we're trying to get it fair. So it's still pretty ambiguous, not too far off of what you guys are doing over there. Like I said, every negotiation is hopefully evolving better and better. Up until the strikes 2 years ago, we barely had any understanding of how it worked. If your film or TV show got licensed by Netflix, there is some math involved, and it all depends on that licensing deal. If it gets run a bajillion times like Suits or The Office, you're not getting paid any money because the licensing deal was paid up front. Now, in these new negotiations, um, we were fighting for revenue sharing. We were fighting for a bigger, and when I say we as actors, we were fighting for significant gains in streaming. We did not get them.
Yeah.
Okay, and I want to say maybe 3 years ago, it would be like the ambiguity of the streaming was, hey, you'll get a lump sum in a year after your streaming show airs, and you'll get one, essentially peanuts check a year after it's streaming. That was it.
Yeah.
There was little transparency. Now, what we quote unquote won during the strikes was this streaming bonus where they said, hey, we're going to use the numbers and the analytics, and we're going to see all the shows that met this threshold and was super successful in the first 90 or so days of the show. We're going to work together, and those shows are going to win a chunk of imaginary money, and we're going to put it in this fund, and we're going to spread it out among all of you. Guess what happened? We have no idea what happened to that money. We have no idea if any show is qualified for it, and we're twiddling our thumbs. By the way, we actually are voting for.
I got all of it.
Oh,
I got a chunk. Most of it came to me. In a clerical error, but it's mine now.
Yeah.
No take backsies.
By the way, we are voting for new SAG leadership coming up. We'll be talking about that soon. But
Sean Astin making some noise. I notice. Sean Astin wants to be SAG president. He is one of them.
I know. I mean, from what I've seen of Sean Astin, I'm a fan. But we'll get into that. Anyway, so my point is there's so much ambiguity and there's so much to complain about. Yet here we are trying to see why our production's moving to the UK. Sure, they're probably a little less strict, and we can say that as far as the actor side of it, it is a little cheaper.
Well, the figure I was given was the cost of, like, you can shoot 3 shows in Ireland for the cost of 1 in the US. That was what I was told. Now, that was an offhand comment from a producer, but
let's actually get to this.
Let's get to it.
Part of this conversation is the fact that people were claiming that Teamsters in Atlanta were so difficult to work with during negotiations that a studio like Marvel picked up and left. Now, I'm trying to be fair about this. People are saying that the greedy union members and Teamsters were making it difficult. Do you see how what I'm getting at here? Where it's just kind of funny how we're so easy to say, "Hey, guys, why don't you just take these rates? Why don't you just This is exactly the type of stories that come out of these papers like Hollywood Reporter. Like you see all these anonymous comments. Hey, the Teamsters are really difficult to work with. Guess what? They're being paid and they get ad dollars from these studios. They're in bed with the studios, and this is how the reporting goes. Now, but I just want to say that because a lot of people are going to say, hey, guess what? The reason why everyone's leaving Atlanta is because the greedy Teamsters were making it difficult. And that's a lot of what people were saying in LA when all of us were striking. They were like, hey, you union guys, hey, you guys fought for so many wages and so many regulations. Well, guess what? You just scared off work. So this is kind of like the balance we're trying to find. Go ahead.
Yeah, but that's always the go-to, isn't it? That like, the unions are the problem. Like it's always demonizing unions as if, they're the reason. And it's when another point I've heard from people, I've heard a few people say it lately is like, stars have to stop taking such big wages. They have to stop taking 20 million or 10 million or 6 million or whatever. So there's the responsibility. I feel like everybody has an agenda when it comes to laying the blame at someone else's feet. And unions, I'm not a big fan of people demonizing unions. I understand that unions are not perfect by any means, and there are issues there. But like, collective bargaining is the only power we have, and actors have little enough power as it is. Yeah. So without a union to go to bat for you, you haven't really got anything. You know what I mean? Like there's already a lot of exploitation, I think, of how much people love doing this. like there's a lot of
Yeah,
cost involved.
it's easy to take advantage of someone who loves
Very
doing it,
easy.
for
Yeah,
sure.
of course, because you'll put up with a lot. I've heard someone is an interesting thing. Like someone was saying, like I'll put up with a lot as an actor. A lot of unfairness. He's like, but I won't put up with that in my part-time job, my part-time service industry job. I won't put up with anything like the same level of, treatment that in my part-time job as I will in acting. But he's like, but as an actor, I put up with it all the time. And I thought
That's a great way to put it.
Interesting
That's
distinction.
spot on.
Yeah.
That's spot on. And just to echo that point, we need actors, and we need power players, celebrities, stars, showrunners, creators to make a stand, and that goes into stay in LA. That goes into, hey, making an effort. LA might be more costly, but this is where a lot of the talent is, and what are people going to do? And maybe money's not everything.
Sure.
Anyway, so let's get into this. I don't want to oversell it, but this is a little better news. This is a 2008 article, The Hollywood Reporter. Runaway production, part of industry history. This was actually in 2008, and they were talking about Hollywood productions running away across the world.
Wow.
So this is kind of my point, where if this came out today, we would have not batted an eyelash, because this is exactly what we're dealing with. It goes into a story about Kirk Douglas was shooting a movie in 1958. In 1956, New York Times reported that dozens of Hollywood sound stages were dark, while 18 of the 39 films in production shot overseas. This is in 1956. 18 of the 39 films that were shot overseas. Okay.
Wow. Okay. Sorry, just a little aside. So my grandfather, my mom's dad, was involved. Yeah, he was involved he worked for the Board Fáilte, the Irish Tourist Board, and his job was to attract foreign production to Ireland. So it was his job to essentially package and sell locations in Ireland to basically sell crews and sell productions on coming to Ireland to shoot. So he was instrumental in getting the film Ryan's Daughter shot in Dunquin in Kerry. And that was, I don't know what year that was. I must look up the year of the movie. But yeah, it was a big deal. And it changed, it brought so much money into that region. 1970, Ryan's Daughter was shot in. So that was part of, that was part of that push to get films overseas. Because I think probably, originally in its inception, everything was shot in Hollywood, you know what I mean?
Yeah, of course.
Yeah, because that was just where movies were. Yeah, go ahead. Sorry.
Exactly. So just paint a picture here. This is 1956. They had to overcome language barriers, cultural divides, regulations and fees, inadequate facilities and services. I'm not saying that. I'm saying in 1956, obviously things have changed drastically over the years with technology. 1952, they created a council to stop runaway production. They say here, from 1963 to 1973, it continued with a vengeance, runaway productions. All these things were happening, okay? They were calling it the end of Tinseltown, the end of Hollywood. And here's the kicker. It didn't happen. Local production between 1980 and 1997 grew in LA at a rate of 200% employment, 250% for business. Now, obviously, I'm not saying this is going to happen again. I'm saying this is really interesting, part of our history, and we would pray that, hey, it's gonna swing back around, and these things are cyclical. So, and according to Kirk Douglas, the last line of this, my recollection is that no crew was as good as a Hollywood crew, no matter where they were. There's no argument that it's much easier to shoot a movie here. Now, that's true. That's true. There is a lot of Hollywood. There's a lot of history. Now the question is are studios going to pay a premium to keep productions in LA? And I offer, sometimes it's not all about the money.
In whose view, though?
To put in a real world example, we can, and I confess, I am a maximizer. I will always find the cheapest price to pay anything. I will search on Amazon for the perfect, cheapest, most practical book bag, coffee maker. I will spend that time. It doesn't matter what it is. I'm going to pay the best dollar. I get it. I get it as a producer too, right? My point is in the big scheme of things, it needs to be a balance. It's not sustainable, and that's what they call racing to the bottom. Now, let's think about it this way. You could easily try to maximize your dating life. Swipe, 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 swipe. You're too tall. You're too short. You have too many teeth. I don't like you. 5 minutes later,
too many teeth?
Swipe, swipe, swipe.
Is there such a thing?
It happens. It happens. You give someone 30 minutes. Nope. Got to move on to the next. No. That's maximizing. So that might not work in dating life either. It's called maximizing. I'm just using that as kind of like a generalized.
I wasn't aware of this, like swiping like a maniac was called maximizing.
Yeah, exactly. Maximizing. Give someone one date. They don't fit the qualifications. Move on to the next. I could easily look for the quote unquote most efficient, cheapest, etc. My point is, and this happened in a conversation recently. I bought a book from a bookstore. Thank you.
Yeah.
Applause, please. I want to support a local.
Are there people there watching
bookstore.
you? Have you an audience? That's so cool.
I kind of do, but we're in New York, so no one cares. I have a window in front of me. No one's paying attention, which is kind of fun though. I would love it if I had an audience. So I bought a book, and a shout out for those that know. If you know, you know. New York Nico's book. He's kind of like a local legend in New York. He has a book. I bought it. It was signed by him, and I want to support the local bookstore. And I had a friend who's like me. She said, "Oh, well, that book is $10 cheaper on Amazon." And I go, "I'm aware. Amazon usually is cheaper, but that's kind of like not the point. The point is I want to support this local bookshop who had a collaboration with New York Nico, and I wanted to support that and pay a premium where I don't know how else to explain it. I don't want to pat myself on the back, but I feel like it's kind of important sometimes to support local businesses. And it might not mean, you might want the $10 that you save. Your wallet can save you $10, but I think sometimes it's not about the money.
Yeah.
And that's I
I
have no other way to describe it. Here's the thing. If a Hollywood studio was going to maximize, they were going to run away from the US, run to Europe, and then Europe is going to keep negotiating and get better contracts, and they're going to run away to Southeast Asia. And they're going to keep running around. And by the way, we talked about this before. Korea is trying to unionize and negotiate with Netflix. Guess what? Netflix doesn't want to talk to their union. So this is yet to be talked about. We're going to talk about eventually, but you can keep chasing the cheaper dollar and you keep racing to the bottom.
I know what you're saying, yeah. But I think that's part of the attraction, certainly of Ireland anyway, because they've really good crews. They have a lot of talent in Ireland, and they have tax breaks. So Ireland, that's what makes Ireland such an attractive
but
place
that changes
at the moment.
That changes. No knock against Ireland, but there's a lot of tax breaks in Atlanta, and then
of course,
and then some states, they redo those things every 3, 5, etc. years.
But I think it also, you can say, anywhere can offer tax breaks, but they have to have the infrastructure and the crews to support it. That's why it limits it to it can't just be anywhere. You know what I mean? Because they have to have now. Like you say, there's
you're right.
You're right. But you do need the infrastructure to support it, especially a high volume of production.
Maybe a lot of people are rushing over there to move, start crushing for the next 5-10 years. That's very well part of this conversation.
Yeah.
Anyway, good stuff. I think it is cyclical, and I feel like everyone wanted to short-term react, and we're gonna find a balance. We're going to find a balance out of this, hopefully.
Just for myself to take away from this whole chat, and what I have sort of learned is some people have too many teeth.
Yeah, exactly. Keep an eye out for that. No judgment.
Watch out.
There's no shame.
Watch out.
There's
it
no
happens.
Shame about that.
You can't say it happens. You'd be surprised.
Actually, I don't want to disrespect people with too many teeth. I had
How
a
many
tooth
is too
removed.
many? Do you have a number?
No, I had a tooth removed when I was younger. Yeah, I think I literally had one extra tooth. It happens. Let's do hidden gems.
Okay.
What do you got?
Do you know what I meant? I just remembered this place, but I haven't been in a while. But it was great. There's a place in Culver City. It's called Industry Cafe. It's called Industry Cafe and Jazz. Is the full? Do you know this place? It's
I heard of it.
it's
I think I heard of it,
Eritrean
but I
and
don't know.
Ethiopian food. So it's Eritrean and Ethiopian food.
I don't even know
East
what
African.
Eritrean means.
That's
amazing.
It's a country in East Africa. But they do. I mean, they have, there's jazz there and stuff. But it's just like a really friendly atmosphere. The food is great. I went there with a couple of friends, one of whom had painted the mural on the side of the building. It was a cool mural.
That's
But
awesome.
it was just, the food was great. They were so friendly, and I don't know if you're familiar with Ethiopian food, but it's
No,
it
I'm
was-
not. How would you? Yeah, what's the comps? Is it
A lot of-
similar to Moroccan? Similar to
Yeah,
Moroccan
a
food?
fair amount of spice. You kind of like eat things family style with like a bread that they make, which is really tasty. Goat, a lot of goat, just to
Okay.
pre-warm
Yeah,
people.
warm.
But also really good vegetarian food too. But a lot of spice and like family style stewed meats and stuff. But really good. Anyway, Industry Cafe in Culver City is fantastic.
Cool. All right, there you go. A
All
little
right.
hidden gem in LA. So I'll do my hidden gem is over here in New York. So New York, U.S. Open is the Grand Slam or the big tennis tournament in New York. I'm rarely here this time of year. They did Fan Week. I'm telling you, New York, the tennis PR and branding and pop-ups, I'm going crazy. Like the tennis stars are all out over here. They just did U.S. Open Fan Week. It's been a lot of fun. I've been at the U.S. Open just the week before the tournament starts. They're doing games, freebies, all this stuff. Anyway, the hidden gem that I will give, that I will offer, because they've been doing stuff all week and it's been fun, and it's like, tennis is super popular here in New York. They're doing a giveaway on top of everything. Wilson is hiding tickets all around New York
Ooh.
to the U.S. Open.
Willy Wonka
They're-
style.
But I also heard that Wilson, if you follow their stories on Instagram, they have 3 pairs of tickets every day. Literally right now, like this weekend, I actually might be hunting for tickets. But it's so fun. They're going to put clues on their Instagram stories. So if you're in New York, go, hunt around. You might get some U.S. Open tickets. So that's my hidden gem, everyone. New York did it. The U.S. Open did a great job with all these tennis things.
Yeah.
Anyway,
That's great.
That's it,
Couple of
everyone.
Good hidden gems there. A tasty
Yeah.
local restaurant and tennis.
Yep. New York and LA, baby. All right. Hope you enjoyed the episode. See you next week, everyone.
See you guys.